to make sure that we get that done. So as long as we can do that and we can do that together, I know that we'll be moving in the right direction. So let's get started. Before we get started, or before we continue with the slide, let's start off with what we talked about last week. Last week we talked about ways that we can start to develop the city of Harvey, specifically from the perspective of downtown development. Our downtown development basically was a plan from the Center for Neighborhood Technologies, and with the Center for Neighborhood Technologies plan, one thing we discovered that we needed to have in that plan was a comprehensive plan. So let's start off with what we know from there. We know a comprehensive plan is a document designed to guide the future actions of a community. It presents a vision for the future with long-range goals and objectives for all activities that affect local government. As was stated last week, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So at the end of the day, most cities have what's called a comprehensive plan, or at least most successful cities do. A comprehensive plan can last approximately 20 to 30 years. Maybe every 5 years there will be a review of the comprehensive plan, but the average lifespan of a comprehensive plan is 20 to 30 years. So if you see here, the city of Blue Island has a comprehensive plan. The village of South Holland has a comprehensive plan. You can see theirs is dated June of 2018. The village of Richton Park has a comprehensive plan. So does the village of Rosemont, comprehensive plan. The city of Markham, Illinois, April 2nd, 2014, adopted their comprehensive plan. And so does the village of Hazelcrest, March of 2007. So just figure, if their plan was to last 20 years, then their plan is up in 2027. So they have a little bit more to go on that plan. Of course, the village of Homewood has a comprehensive plan, and they call it the master plan. So what happens is, approximately 5 years before a plan expires, then a municipality will begin to review that plan and decide what their next steps are going to be going into the future. So once again, it's a plan, and it's something that you plan for. It's a whole planning stage that goes along with it, and other municipalities do it. And as we see, other successful municipalities in the city, around the city of Harvey, go about the business of using these plans. So that's something that to be considered, and that's something that we know that we must do. Now, a comprehensive plan provides municipal officials with an understanding of present conditions and changes which may have occurred over time. Now that's very important because as we go through our election cycles, elections happen and politicians or elected officials come and go. So at the end of the day, when you're changing administrations, when you're changing all the persons, trustees, city presidents, whatever the name of it is at that particular time, or commissioners, basically a comprehensive plan gives everyone coming in an understanding of the present conditions and changes that may have occurred over time, so that everyone can have a better idea. Everyone has the same blueprint that they're going on, and they can use that blueprint to help direct them on the decisions they make throughout the city. It provides for the preparation of a balanced economic and community development strategy. It identifies natural and physical conditions and limitations which may affect the location and/or type of future development. Now, that's key right there, because with future development, for instance, for the past, let's say 20, 25 years, I've heard the same statement. Harvey's sitting on a gold mine. Harvey's in an area that is geographically located where everybody wants to be in Harvey. We're between I-57 and I-80 and I-294, and we have 3 railroads going through the city. All of these great things. We have all the wonderful things that are about Harvey. All of the physical conditions, okay, that may affect the location and or type of future development. But we haven't planned how to use those to our advantage. So just because I have a hammer, some nails, and some lumber does not mean I know how to build a house. It just means that I have the tools at my disposal. But what planning does, or what a blueprint does, lets me know what I'm going to do with that wood, how I'm going to use those nails, and how many times I'm going to strike that hammer so that I can actually build that house and have a place to live. That's the benefit of a comprehensive plan. Some other benefits is that it provides an informative profile of the community, and this is key too. It provides an informative profile of the community, which would aid developers, okay? Aid developers and other prospective residents considering your municipality as a location. There we go. So, once again, developers, when they are looking to develop and invest in a city, they're looking at your comprehensive plan. It's one of the first places that they start. They say, okay, we have a geographic location. We know we want to be in the city of Harvey. Why do you want to be in the city of Harvey? Because the city of Harvey is the seat of the Midwest. Because the city of Harvey is the seat of Cook County. It's the place that is, as everyone says, geographically located in the most perfect setting so that everyone would want to be there. Okay, so now that decision is made. Everyone wants to come to the city of Harvey. So what's next? Let's go look at the comprehensive plan. See what they're doing, see what their plans are, so that we can know how to invest our money in the future so we can get a return on that investment. And believe me, business is just about that. It's about one thing and one thing only: your return on your investment. If a business cannot see a return on an investment, or will not see the percentage of a return that they expect from their investment, they're not going to do business. So at the end of the day, the comprehensive plan helps them to understand what is going on in your city, what the future of your city looks like. Also, it provides a focus and the opportunity for constructive public input, public participation, and public education. I would say that this here is actually, what we're doing today is actually the beginning of a comprehensive plan. Because a community solutions meeting is actually that thing where you begin to engage in constructive public input, public participation, and public education. The community actually creates a committee. Several committees are created as a result of the planning stages through the comprehensive plan. And in those committees, the community members begin to discuss the things that they would like to see in their city. So comprehensive plans are not exclusively about just the mayor, the alderman, the elected officials making a decision for everybody else that's allegedly beneath or below them that they represent the city. No, the community actually has an active part to play in the comprehensive plan, in the comprehensive planning stages. And then it provides the municipality with a publicly and legally defensible basis for land use, subdivision, and land development, other controls and public policies recommended by or evolving from the planning effort. I want to read that again. It provides the municipality with a publicly and legally defensible basis for land use, subdivision, and land development, or other controls and public policies recommended by or evolving from the planning effort. This is extremely important because of the simple fact that, for instance, the city of Harvey, it seems like every other time you look in the news, the city of Harvey is being sued by someone. Someone's suing the city of Harvey for one reason or another. We currently have a lawsuit going on right now where there was a land on Dixie Highway and land on 147th Street where the owner says that he was not treated in a fair manner by our administration. But if we had a plan, a comprehensive plan, that is a legal document in your community, that legal document would be your guide to say, well, we did not make our decision because we didn't like him. We made our decision because our plan says that if we're dealing with a certain size of property or a certain type of property, these are the steps that we're supposed to take. And that's what the plan does. And when you can go before the court and you can say, it wasn't arbitrary, it's only because our document said that we had to do this, then you have what is a legally defensible basis for your land use decisions. Okay? So, just think about it. We're talking about comprehensive plans. We don't have a comprehensive plan. So the question is, what is our legally defensible basis for our land use decisions? We don't have one. And so basically at the end of the day, what happens is we end up getting sued. We end up settling. Then when we settle, then our insurance rates go up. Then when the insurance rates go up, the taxpayers pay more because you have to pay to basically subsidize the mistakes that we have made because we didn't have a comprehensive plan. So basically it's a situation where every time the city of Harvey sneezes, the community catches a cold. Every single time. Every misstep, every misappropriation, every mismanaged decision that goes on happens and the taxpayers have to pay for it. Your protection is a comprehensive plan. So final benefits is it provides valuable information which can be used in future funding applications, making them more competitive and in conformance with the actual projected needs of the community, and it provides a framework to empower local officials to make decisions based upon a coordinated plan to guide the orderly growth and development of the community. And I want to pick up on that one right there because the simple fact is your local officials need to understand the direction that the city is going. So remember, this is a community solutions meeting. So we're trying to figure out how can we come up with the solutions to make a better Harvey. Well, first thing we have to do is figure out what some of our issues are. And as you've probably noticed in our city council meetings, it appears that either we're divided based on sides or philosophies, and this is one of the reasons why sometimes people will say our decisions that we make in city council are personal, because we don't really have any other basis, at least from a public document standpoint, of why we're making the decisions that we're making. So it must be that I voted no because I don't like that person, or I voted yes because I like that person, when that's not necessarily the case. But it provides a framework to empower local officials to make decisions based upon a coordinated plan. And so basically that says is that when everybody in the room has the same information, when everyone in the room has the same blueprint, and when everyone knows the direction that you're going, then everyone in the room can make an informed decision, an informed, rational, and reasonable decision. What happens most of the time is you don't have the information. We don't have a blueprint or plan. We don't know the direction that we're going. And we're trying to figure out whether someone's going to get in trouble as a basis of the decision that you're making. So if I say yes, is this a good deal? Because we don't have all of the information, we don't know the direction that we're going, so will we get in trouble if it comes out that that really wasn't the deal that we should have done? And now when I say trouble, I don't just mean in a legal in legal trouble either, but we have a duty and a responsibility to the residents. So if you take, for instance, the hotel situation, people voted based on the information that they had at that particular time. Was that good information? By the way it looks, no, it was not the best information. Nevertheless, they had to take a vote. If everyone had had the same coordinated plan, they would have known the direction of the hotel. They would have known the direction of the city. They would have been able to make a reasonably informed decision and thus a better vote, and that vote may have saved the city almost $20 million. But now, we have no hotel, and we're still paying, and we will have to continue to pay for that $20 million. So, let me make sure I get this straight and then I'll move on. It's similar to, I tell people it's similar to if your car is repossessed. If your car is repossessed, they take the car, you still owe the bill. Okay? They still expect that payment. If your house is foreclosed on, they take the house, you still owe the mortgage. So when we borrowed, I think it was $14 million or somewhere in that range for the hotel deal, even though the hotel is torn down, we still owe the $14 million plus interest, which should equal somewhere about $20 million over the life of the loan. So that means that your children, my children, and probably their children will end up paying for this debt, and we have absolutely nothing to show for it. After you're thinking about that situation, and after I'm thinking about that situation, it makes me more in favor of having a comprehensive plan. So, what do we know? We know that the city of Harvey has not adopted a comprehensive plan since 1968. This is what we discussed last week, and we're discussing it again. The city of Harvey has not adopted a comprehensive plan since 1968. Once again, I was born June 23rd, 1969. So as long as I have been on earth, the city of Harvey has not had a comprehensive plan, has not adopted a comprehensive plan. So if we go back to the beginning, I said that if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So this is what we have. Now, I want to take a look because I want to make sure that everyone understands and anyone that ends up watching this video understands exactly what's what. That spans over a period of 4 mayors, not just one. Okay? A period of 4 mayors. James Haynes became the mayor of the city of Harvey in 1967. So a year after he got into office, the city of Harvey had their last and final comprehensive plan. From 1967 to 1983, in which he was replaced at that particular point in time by David Johnson. David Johnson got into office, so think about it. And the Bible says that you are supposed to leave an inheritance for your children and your children's children. Well, if you're supposed to leave an inheritance for your children and your children's children, then that means that your children's children should know what's going on in the future. James Haynes did not adopt a plan in the time that he was in office, so David Johnson took office. And when David Johnson took office, David had no clue, Mayor Johnson had no clue of the direction that the city was going, because there was no information left to him so that he could know. So he started off from scratch, as they say, from ground zero. And from 1983 to 1995, he did not adopt a comprehensive plan. So then he repeated the vicious cycle that James Haynes created. And when he didn't get reelected in 1995, and the people chose Nicholas Graves, then in 1995, Nicholas Graves took over, and he did not adopt, that city council did not adopt a comprehensive plan. Now remember, David Johnson didn't adopt one, his administration didn't adopt one, so as a result, Nicholas Graves came in, he had no clue of what was going on either. Absolutely no clue. All he knew is that he had a city, he had a budget, he had taxes. That was it. And there were a few buildings left because the buildings that weren't burned down, that were still up and that were usable, we just figured that we would rehab and rehab and rehab and rehab. And for those of you who've been in Harvey for a long time, you know how it goes. Because it seems like we tear nothing down. We rarely build anything new. We just rehab and rehab and rehab. So Nicholas Graves did not have a plan, and he did not adopt a plan. So now we come to the current mayor, Eric J. Kellogg. He took over in 2003, and he became mayor. And when he came in under the same conditions as James Haynes, David Johnson, Nicholas Graves, without a comprehensive plan. He had absolutely no clue what was going on. And the reason why I list all four of them, because yes, as much as, honestly, I would like to sometimes place the blame on the current mayor, as much as sometimes everyone would like to place the blame on the current mayor, he just continued a vicious cycle that was started and repeated over and over again, generation after generation, mayor after mayor. Now what we have to decide is that whomever, now I'm hoping that underneath that name, one day will be my name, but it may be someone else's name underneath there. And if there's someone else's name underneath there, are they going to create this same cycle? And then the second question is, are you going to allow them to continue the cycle now that you know better? And that's really key. So we're just recycling the same bad habits and doing the same bad things. So what we know we must do at a minimum, we must, and under my administration, we will develop and submit a comprehensive plan to City Council for approval. That has to happen. That has to happen. Because if my administration does nothing else for our generations to come, the one thing that we know that we can do is we can break that cycle. So that we don't have to have a city that doesn't know where it's going. So after we do the comprehensive plan, which is a lengthy process, and we have an idea of where we're going, we have the plan, and we know what we're doing. What's our next steps? Well, actually, once that happens, then the real work begins. Okay. And with this administration, with my administration, should you choose to elect me to be your mayor, my first and top priority is quality of life. And as it says, quality of life is important to every resident and community. It results in a safer and better looking city. By focusing on this issue, there is an increase in homeowner curb appeal, real estate value, and city pride. Harvey residents pay the highest tax rate in Cook County. They pay more for groceries, they pay more for gasoline, they pay more for vehicle and home insurance. And in between there should just be a little, they pay more for everything.
Yes.
However, they see very little in return for what they pay. So, where other municipalities may be about the business of creating municipal centers and youth complexes, recreational complexes, and things of that nature, those are what I would consider to be higher level quality of life issues, unfortunately, here in the city of Harvey, we're still dealing with the basic quality of life issues, okay? And so we need to first get the basics out of the way, and then we can move on to the other things. So yes, someone may say, well, you know what, I want to build a new park for the kids. That's great. But will you have street lights, streets, sidewalks, and curbs? As a repeated, sidewalks and curbs, litter, dumping and trash pickups, water, abandoned homes and vacant lots, police protection and fire protection. Those are some of the basic quality of life issues. The things that everyone, no matter what community you go to, should have.
Yes.
No matter where you go, you should have streetlights. So having those things are essential. But it's not just enough to talk about having those things. How do you go about getting them? And how do you go about getting them in the environment such as Harvey, where we know we have some issues? Actually, you know what? I want to back that up. Actually, that looks like one of the streetlights in Harvey downtown, in the downtown area. It's not on, but it looks like actually one of the streets. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, right in front of my office. It looks like that light. It's a beautiful light.
Not too long ago.
Yeah, just changed it out.
Yeah.
2 years ago. It's an absolutely beautiful light, but it just doesn't work.
And it's a beautiful fixture.
Yeah, so there you go. So there you go. It's a beautiful fixture. So, why are streetlights important? Everyone, these are seem to be no-brainers, but we still have to make sure that we review these things and we understand exactly what we're doing. Streetlights actually have a business component and also a residential component. But for both, street lighting helps people to feel safe and can help to reduce crime. So it's very simple. You feel safer, helps to reduce crime. You can have a place that absolutely has zero crime. But if there are no lights, people will believe that it is unsafe. Even if the area had absolutely zero crime. And they will refrain from going into that area because there are no lights, because they are fearful that there will be some crime. So what happens on the other end, as far as economic development and businesses are concerned, businesses look at that. They say to themselves, is there enough lighting? If there is not enough lighting, we will not be able to get the traffic that we need to have because there's not enough. Even if there is no crime, people do not feel safe. So, if you're going down and you're going south over I-80 into Homewood and you're headed to Homewood Walmart, plenty of lighting. Enough lighting for you to be able to see where you're going. When you go into the Walmart parking lot, plenty of lighting. When you go on the east side of Halsted, plenty of lighting. And so you get a constant traffic flow day when the sun is out and night because it's a lit area. And so therefore that Walmart can stay open to midnight, and as a result, they make more money. Remember that return on investment is the key part to business. They want to know, can they make a return on their investments? So streetlights help people feel safe and can help to reduce crime. If it helps to reduce crime, then it's less of a toll on your police department. So your police department does not have to sit around in a particular area just because you have lights. And because your police department does not have to sit in a particular area, then either one, you can find a higher and best use for that officer's time, or you can save money because you may not need as many officers because you have enough light and you have enough of a deterrent to crime. Or better yet, when there's something going on with you, you can get a better response time because the officer doesn't have to stay in a particular area. That officer can be used to actually patrol the residential areas as well. Helps to reduce nighttime crashes by improving visibility. And I thought about our street signs also at that time, but that's a whole nother fourth presentation. Can reduce pedestrian crashes by approximately 50%. Can help to aid navigation. And streetlights have an overall aesthetic value. So they basically make your properties look better, they make the streets look better, they make the whole area look better. Now that's, of course, if you have decent looking streets anyway. You may want to hide it. I mean, I went the other day and I cut someone's bushes I cut bushes from an abandoned house because the neighbors wanted the bushes and the trees cut down from the abandoned house. And that was a good thing. But then after I cut the bushes away from the house, I kind of wanted the bushes to stay because they hid some of the ugly that was behind it. One of the things about having those street lights is if there's a lot, I'm just going to call it a lot of ugly, then maybe that's one of the reasons why, you know what I'm saying, you would want to have it. But I would say probably that if there was a positive benefit, that would be the only way, and that is not enough. But having streetlights create that overall aesthetic value. So we want to have that. And we want people to come to our city, and we want people to feel welcome when they come to the city of Harvey. That helps to drive business. According to ComEd, one of our old lights can be replaced by 3 LED lights for the same cost. So basically the lights that we have right now, we can work it several ways. We can either get 3 more lights and increase the amount of lights that we have throughout the city, or we can buy the same amount of lights or have the same amount of lights and reduce our overall cost. Now that would be a thing that would be a decision, in my opinion, that would be made by the community members. As a part of that comprehensive plan, when I was saying the comprehensive plans, the community is also a participant in the comprehensive plan. That's a decision that the community members would help to make. Do we buy 3 times as many lights, or do we buy the same amount of lights and have a reduction in overall cost? And the community can help to make that decision. Because it's not necessarily the easiest decision, because where I may think, well, I want more lights, someone would say, well, no, we need to come down on the bill stuff. So we'll have to figure that out as we go along. LED lights are brighter than older lighting. So once again, if you get an older light, say if you were to make the decision we're going to buy 1 for 1. For every light that we have now, we're going to replace that with an LED light. You're still going to get a brighter illuminated street because you have an LED light. So you're saving money, you have brighter streets, you have presumably a safer area, and all of the additions that come along with that. So, as a result, we'll make that decision when the time comes. But how do we get them? Now, this is the kicker. Self-funding. I'll just tell you right now, be 100% honest with you, at least from what I know so far, and honestly, I believe I'm going to find out the same thing when I become mayor. Self-funding is not going to work. We, unfortunately, just do not have the funds to restring and relight the entire city, to redo the entire grid. So self-funding will probably be out of the way. Utility financing, municipally owned utility financing, honestly, it's another option. It is another option that other functional communities use. But I don't believe that will be an option for us either. And remember, we're talking about basic quality of life issues. So that means that we've now come from this point and we've come down to this point. So as a result, our options are few. Where we used to have many, we don't anymore. So self-funding, we're $156 million in debt. So self-funding is pretty out the window. The utility financing is pretty much gone. But these two here, grants and or rebates and third-party financing, are possibilities for us. Now, let's just specifically take grants and/or rebates. Grants and/or rebates, there's a requirement on our part. We have to have certain things in order for us to qualify for a grant. Now, I'm going to go back. I probably don't go too far back. But some of us were here just a little bit later. Okay. The benefits of a comprehensive plan. It provides valuable information which can be used in future funding applications, making them more competitive and in conformance with the actual projected needs of the community. So, as we're moving forward and we're talking about getting financing for grants, a comprehensive plan is one of those key things that can help to make your community more competitive, as opposed to just saying, why do you want this money? Because we want lights. That's the simple answer. And mind you, yeah, there are other communities saying, because we want lights too. And then the other community saying, yeah, and we want lights. But then the community decides to step up and says, we would like to acquire street lighting. And these are the purposes of our street lighting, because it will enhance the overall safety of our community, also while improving our ability to have economic development, thus creating an overall tax base where our constituents can now pay a lower tax residentially and improve the value of their homes. Does that sound better?
Yes, that sounds good.
And so at the end of the day, having that comprehensive plan along with your grant proposal helps to improve your ability to be able to get the funding that you need. Especially when self-funding is not necessarily a possibility for you, utility financing isn't a possibility for you. You have to put your best foot forward. Now, rebates, ComEd, who is our supplier here, our provider of electricity here, offers a variety of rebates. Actually, they offer so many that I did not include them in this presentation, because we would actually, that's a whole PowerPoint presentation by itself. And ComEd has a PowerPoint presentation on all of the rebates that it offers. So that's amazing in and of itself. And as a side note, just so everyone can understand here, if you don't have LED lighting in your home, and this is for residential, we're not talking about city right now, so I'm just going to go off on the side. If you don't have LED lighting in your home, ComEd will come in and replace all of your your previous light bulbs to LED lights for free, if you did not know that. Okay. So they will do that for free. Now, businesses, and they do it for businesses as well. So residents can get LED lights for free. Businesses can get LED lights. Now, businesses may have to pay a cost, but the cost is nominal. So this may be something that you want to think about, because once again, if you have LED lights in your home, we just saw that LED lighting can basically, 3 LED lights can replace 1 light. Right? Isn't that what we learned so far? Yes. So if that's the case, then think about it in your home. That means that you can bring your overall electric bill costs down. So I wish they had LED air conditioners, because that would be really nice. Bring the cost of that bill down. But the simple fact is, that's something that you can do. That's something you can look into. You can call, I think it's the 1-800 whatever, ComEd. They will tell you about it. All you have to do is say, somebody told me that they could put LED lights in my home for free, and the customer service representative will know exactly what you're talking about. Okay, and if they don't, by any chance, you can give me a call. I'll provide all the information that you need. But so grants and rebates. Third-party financing is another option that can be used for us to get these street lights. Now, my objective is to try to find the best way for us to get as many street lights as possible for as little as possible that does not have as much of an impact on the residents. Right? You've paid enough. And so if there's a way for us to get this done without it having a financial impact on you, that's the direction that we want to take. So, this is just an option. In January, and these things are going on as we speak, it's just that we don't know about them. In January of 2017, the Illinois Department of Innovation and Technology released a request for companies to bid on a statewide master contract of smart street lighting for Illinois municipalities to help bring LED technology with adaptive controls to communities. Local governments throughout Illinois can upgrade their street lights to LED fixtures through the state's joint purchasing program. The street lights also can be equipped with Wi-Fi and sensors for IoT technologies. Now, there is a city actually near us that's using this right now. That's the Village of Lansing. So the Village of Lansing, Illinois has actually got involved in this. But I like the next part the most. The program offers financing options that include energy performance contracting and other vendor proposed financing for streetlight upgrades with no upfront charges to the municipality. Okay? So I'm going to repeat that because once again, whether my name ends up going under Eric J. Kellogg's as mayor, next mayor for the city of Harvey, which of course you know I hope that that's what happens, but I want you to know and understand exactly what's available to you, what's been available to you. We just haven't been taking advantage of it. I don't have to come up with a brand new plan. I don't have to come up with a brand new idea on how to fix the city because those ideas have already been there. We knew what we were supposed to do, we just didn't go about the business of doing it. So I'm going to read it again. The program offers financing options that include energy performance contracting and other vendor proposed financing for streetlight upgrades with no upfront charges to the municipality. With the typical energy savings and decreased maintenance costs. So we're saving energy and decreasing maintenance costs. The monthly charges to the municipality with financing implemented may be less than before the upgrade. So, if you see something like this, you know this is going on. You know that the state of Illinois started the smart street lighting for Illinois municipalities in January of 2017. Then the question becomes, what have we been doing about it? And why haven't we done anything? Now, I can't answer that question, and I'm not going to try to answer that question, but I want you to know and understand exactly what's available so that you can know going into the future. So when we come back to these two, grants and rebates and third-party financing, part of that third-party financing is some of the retrofitters will actually do a lot of that work for you. So the retrofitters themselves will actually help you to go through the grant and rebate process to help to offset their costs. And they will help you with the third-party financing to offset their costs. And so as you work together with an organization or with a company, you begin to see that there's a world of options available to you that you did not know you had before. Yes, ma'am.
What about as third-party businesses that you want to attract to the community as resources for funding? That would be an advantage for them and an advantage for the town. It becomes a win-win type situation. Might that be an option in there with a third party companies or businesses, industry that you want to attract to Harvey to take in consideration for funding?
Yes, yes. And that's definitely a possibility. But to exercise that type of possibility, you first have to create a relationship.
Yes.
And we have to make sure that we have someone in office that establishes relationships with others, that knows how to work and negotiate with others, so that we can do exactly what you're talking about. Because without the relationship, there's very little of a what do I want to call it? A financial incentive for most companies to get engaged that way. When a corporation decides to do, as they say, do good, there was actually an article on doing good has economic benefits. When a company decides to do something good in the community, as they say, they do it because they know that there are overall and long-term benefits to them in the future. Either they can say, we helped feed 1,000 children in Africa, that type of thing. And they can demonstrate that they're not just a community that's about the bottom line. They're a community with a heart. That type of thing. So, but that requires establishing a relationship. Yes, ma'am.
Well, as far as this campaign might be concerned, not necessarily so, but just for an example,
Yes.
That process could start now.
That process has already started.
And since that has started, then a relationship can be expanded upon for this election. As you help us, we will look at the beautiful space in Harvey. It might be bushes and all of that on it now. But this can accommodate your company moving to Harvey as you help us with the or mayoral election, then we can help you to get established in Harvey with your business, with your, whatever it is you're promoting, your products. And it's no underhand, it does not reek with an underhanded or an under the table type thing. It's one hand certainly greasing the other hand.
Washing the other. Both hands washing the face.
Yes, yes. So it would not even be premature to have those types of industries that a relationship is already done available for the constituency to know. ComEd was out here one time. The business was booming, and other companies, not companies, but businesses were paying their utilities at ComEd, 159th and Fisk,
Yes.
before they tore all that down. But the point is that this would be revenue that would be coming in to the village, to the town, as well as benefiting the town, the residents, and those other businesses that would come.
And so, first of all, thank you, and that's definitely something that we can do, and it's something I believe that we should do. But there's a part of, and that's another. Unfortunately, you guys are going to see a lot of PowerPoints if you come here, but it's just so that you can have a better understanding. Part of that also is the fiscal or financial part of the city, which we're not necessarily addressing right now, but it's the fiscal and financial part. Because the other thing is, if I'm a business and I'm going to do the things that you suggest, which I would be open to do, I need to make sure that my money is going to be handled properly, that my investment is still going to be protected. And so I have to know that I have an administration or a city that has demonstrated that it has that financial responsibility.
And ability.
And so therefore having, and so that's why I say that's another presentation, but having proper people in place.
Yes.
Making sure that you're dotting the I's and crossing the T's. All of that is a part, and our auditors, just to give an example, gave us almost 30 different items, action items that we needed to take care of that have not been taken care of yet. And those recommendations were started in, I think, the 2009 audit, and they have not been taken care of. So once again, and companies read these things because they want to know, where am I investing this $40 million? So, and what kind of environment am I getting into? Am I getting into a business-friendly environment or not? So they'll read the audits, and they see the audits, and they see that, oh, well, in 2009 they were told to do X, Y, and Z. They didn't do it. Then in 2010 they were told to do X, Y, and Z again that they were told to do in 2009. They didn't do it. Then in 2011 they were told to do X, Y, and Z that they were told to do in 2010 and in 2009, and they still didn't do it. And once again, it just rinses and repeats over and over again. So what that gives a business, a corporation that has the resources to do the things that you suggest, it gives them the impression that they're not trying to do anything.
Well, now here we are at 2019.
Right.
We have a new mayor.
Yes.
Amen.
Woohoo! And so those are the things, and that's part of, that's what I said, it's part of a financial discussion as well, because as we begin to examine that, we're going to show you the solutions behind that and how we can move forward. But yes, the businesses, well, I'm going to go a little bit further, and now we've gone a little bit far field, but it's still a great thing. So that's what you're talking about comes to mind. It's basically public-private partnerships, which happen all throughout the United States, in municipalities all through the United States. And part of, I think I talked a little bit about public-private partnerships in my previous presentation last week. And that's something that we're going to address as well. I am supported by the United States Minority Contractors Association, which is an organization, and we've sat down and had discussions about public-private partnerships and how we can do that to help rebuild the city. When the city does not have the basically the resources that it needs to create the things that it needs to create or to sustain itself, some P3 investments are key and essential. Some are not. But once again, when you have a comprehensive plan, the comprehensive plan can help you figure that out. And when you have community members participating in the development of your comprehensive plan, then the community members can help you figure that out as well. And they can get suggestions like yours that help to benefit and help to put something on our minds so we can think as we move forward. So thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Oh, Curtis.
Yes, ma'am.
Can I just say, kind of piggyback off of what Carol said, but bring it down to a local, very local level. The businesses here in Harvey, just thinking about them, and then thinking in reference to your, the campaign. Establishing relationships with the businesses, talking to them, and this may already be done, I don't know. But talking to each individual businesses, just to find out what their needs are and what they might want or expect, or what may help them in Harvey, and then coming up with just say, okay, this is what you want, this is what you expect, and then letting them know that if they support unity for Harvey, then their support will help them, because in the end, the things that they want, that they want, and then, the city can work on them getting those things.
Corinne, do you remember the date or Virginia of the business summit? What's the proposed date for that? No one knows. Somebody's going to find out. We actually have already created a business summit where we can do just that. Because I try to, first of all, I try to be in touch with, and I'm just going to be 100% honest with you. It's not easy to talk to businesses in Harvard. Okay. And it's because there's this overarching fear that exists. That if I support you and someone else gets in, I'm going to pay a cost because I supported you. Okay? And I'm just being honest with you. So,
Do we have, pardon me?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a listing of those businesses? Because
the fearful ones?
all of the
Yes, ma'am.
businesses.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm raising that because if these are businesses, the only ones that I seem to see that's really viable, which is just for a service business, like beauty shop, barber shop, and churches. The other businesses, what are they? And what platform do they have as far as keeping their business in Harvey? I think some appeals, let's say if I support, I hate to personify any ethnicity, but let's say if I support an Arab store that sells me meat that they got from Oakbrook, or produce that has been taken off shelf as the time is up, so it comes out here to Abazars, for example. That's the place I can only shop at, so to speak. I need to find out if that fella, that owner, intends to stay here, and how can I help him stay here? Again, establishing a rapport and relationship. If I'm spending money in there for 20, 30 years, or 5 or 6 years, whatever it might be, finding out what he needs, what he wants to be able to continue to conduct business in Harvey, then what I have to present to him about this election and this change of administration might spark an incentive in him. Well, if I can get what I really need and want to stay in this community because there's no pressure, there's no this and no the other, there's no inspectors to see if the meat or the food is up. If I can come up to par, so to speak, but let's talk. It's something to get the door open to at least talk, to find out what that person or what that business wants. So that's what I was asking about a listing. If you had a listing of those places and you want us to go out and ask people, let me know who I'm talking to, who I should be talking to.
Okay. You haven't said anything but a thing. Relationship with them. So you can ask them, why are you supporting someone for mayor? Or have you gotten involved in the mayor's race? No, I haven't gotten involved in the mayor's race. Well, okay, well, why? You're a business here. You do business in Harvey. You know what I'm saying? You serve the community and you receive a benefit from the community. So, why? Then, after that point, have you considered Chris Clark? Oh, you don't know Chris Clark? Don't worry, where's my cell phone at? And I'm gonna call him and I'm gonna make sure that I let him know that he needs to go over to X, Y, and Z place.
Or I need to sell you to him. Now, you know he's an attorney.
Or you can sell me.
And he has to work by the law. And he is the one that we are pushing, encouraging. We are behind for Harvey to get your business at a standard that you want, and we can't mess with an attorney because he is an officer of the court.
Yes.
And he would not mind, so to speak, if it came down to it. Not good guy, bad guy, but letting him know that this is not a fun and game. It is not a matter that is not serious and not important. But we have a person who is qualified, who can do things in a right way, but we need to know basically what you're doing. We're not here to put the inspector on you. If you're not up to standard, we're not saying he may do it, but the checks and balances in the system will help you as opposed to a threat.
Right. Well, the whole thing about business and part of our business summit is to figure out a way to make businesses better.
Yes.
Because at least from my experience as a business owner, and from my experience of having worked for others, they want basically the same thing. They want to make more money. And they want to find out what it is that they have to do so that they can make more money. And depending on the environment that they are in now, and then I'm going to go back to this, but that's also incumbent on us to make demands of them. Because if they can continue to keep their stores in disarray, have aisles this big where you have to walk sideways in order to get down the aisle, in order to get what you want, if we continue to accept that, they are going to continue to provide it to us. Okay? It's supply and demand. If you don't buy it, they're not going to sell it. If you buy it, they're going to sell it. So if you accept it, this is what they're going to give you. So that's an overarching conversation, but I want to go on that one thing that you just said, and I hope that everyone paid attention to that, because I hope that everyone this week, if everyone this week does that one thing, when you go to a store, a gas station, a barber shop, a beauty salon, or some other business organization in the city of Harvey this week, ask that question. Have you gotten involved in the mayor's race? Do you know Christopher Clark? Do you know that he's an attorney? Do you know? I just ask the questions. Engage that conversation. Okay? And then when you get that conversation, once again, 708-491-5259, we have numbers all over the place here. If there is someone that says, no, but I really would be interested in meeting him or interested in having a conversation with him, let me know. I will be Johnny on the spot, and I will be there to make sure that we have that conversation and that report. So thank you so much again. What was that? Oh, I thought someone else had a question. She's believing me. She brings the hammer to the table and puts the nails in where they need to go. So that's what I'm learning.
I'm tired of
streets. So that's our next thing. We're not going to be able to address all of the basic quality of life issues today because it's just so many, but we do want to cover street lighting. So before I go on, regarding street lighting, does everyone understand what I'm talking about in regard to street lighting and how we're planning on going about getting the street lighting? Okay. Well, then based on that, then I'll just move on. So streets, more difficult, more costly. We need them, of course. If anybody had to replace a front end here in the city of Harvey, get their wheels realigned or something of that nature here in the city of Harvey, they understand the importance of streets. But streets do more than just allow us to travel along the roads. Okay? Streets divert water. Okay? Streets are in conjunction with our sewer systems. Streets also go along with our curbs and our sidewalks. So it's more than that. So it's more to the streets than just what's going to happen to my car. There is an essential function to streets, and there's a reason why they are here. So, or we could just have dirt roads, and that would be just fine. But streets serve multiple functions, and as a result of the function that they serve, we have to have them for a variety of reasons. So, because most people, and if there's someone who does not really understand what a street is, let me know, but we have to look at ways that we can get funding for our streets. And once again, we don't have certain things available to us, but there are certain programs that are available and that have been available over a period of time. Now, before I go to what the slide says, President Obama, when he took office in 2008, he started pushing Congress to reinvest in infrastructure in communities. Okay, now, mind you, there were some areas in the United States that already had good infrastructure, so they really didn't need the money. Then there were other places in the United States, Harvey, for instance, that didn't have the infrastructure and needed the funding. Okay. And so they invested billions of dollars into rebuilding roads and bridges throughout the United States of America. This is where that whole, you want to have a comprehensive plan and you want to be up on your audits and all of those things, it helps you. Because at the end of the day, out of all of the roads that needed to be repaired in the city of Harvey, I think we got some money from through working with State Representative Will Davis on Broadway. We got Vincennes, 147th, going south. That's in the 6th Ward. I know they say that Representative Davis doesn't do anything for Harvey, but he does a lot for Harvey. Okay. Going on, when Vincennes was repaired, going south from 147th, all of that. Also, 159th Street, the expansion of the 159th Street corridor, all of that. Representative William Davis was also instrumental. But some of that money, not all of that money, we was able to be acquired through the Reinvestment Act through President Obama. But there was more money available that we could have taken advantage of. But if you don't have things in order, and you don't have people, the relationships where people are actually vouching for who you are and what you can do, and the honesty and integrity of your government, it becomes difficult. So even with these federal programs, some of these federal programs are matching programs. But the National Highway Performance Program, the Surface Transportation Program, in addition to state programs, county programs, which once again, the National Highway Performance Program also diverts money to the counties so they can distribute it to the municipalities in their areas. One part that I think is going to be key as far as our roads are concerned is going to be our ability to go green in our city. And we're going to have to re-examine how we do some things. Now, in my administration, I'll just tell everyone so everyone can understand fully, I am pro-green everything. If we can throw green on it, then I think we should take a look at it. One of the reasons, besides the fact that it's good for the environment, it's also good for your bottom line. Because right now, at this particular point in time, just like we were talking about LED lights, going green, having green initiatives in your community, there's additional funding available to help you do the things that you need to do in your community. But we don't even recycle. So once again, when I was talking about the basic quality of life issues, talking about the basic quality of life issues, we're just talking about simple things. As long as I can get it up here. Hello. There we go. Basic quality of life issues. Street lights. Street sidewalks, curbs. Litter, dumping and trash pickup. Water, abandoned homes, vacant lots, police protection, and fire protection. And we're only going to cover streets and sidewalks. Next week, I believe we will be covering the litter dumping, trash pickups, water, and abandoned homes. And then finally, we're going to wrap it up with the police and fire protection. And the reason why I want to take the time on that is because, once again, I said that the number one priority of my administration, the very first thing that I am going to do, there will be no other conversations. I want this to be clear. There will be no other conversations if we're not talking about these issues. Okay? So I'm not trying to build a Wrigley Field here. I'm not trying to build a stadium. I'm not trying to do that. What I'm trying to do first is to return to you the dignity of living in Harvey.
Yes.
By making your environment look good, by making sure that you have the things that you already paid for. Then we can talk about that. Yes, Ms. Rand.
What happened to the Wood Street project? Were you aware of it coming from 159 to 127? I sat on that committee 2 or 3 years. They never got the city to work with them because every time they called the roll, they said, well, the mayor's not here. His representative is not here. Only one time I saw Mr. Kruda when we moved to, the meetings were at Ingalls. Mr. Kulov stayed, I counted because they never been there, 48 minutes, and I've seen him since. They had that program laid out, and they needed cooperation, they said, from the community. So I did get people to come. But the thing of it is that they even went down to telling me, if I could get some black men who own trucks, they wanted them involved in this project so they could make some money. Well, I did give information to several of them. Only one of them called me. And I just wonder what happened. It was such a good project, you know, to hook up with Markham. It was ready at 159th and moved to 127th. They had stuff, and they met all the time.
Well, all right, well,
I'll give you some information.
no, I know I'm about to give you the answer. I'm just trying to figure out how I want to couch it. That's all. So, this is my last knowledge. First of all, for those who are not aware, there was supposed to be, and there still is going to be, from my understanding, what they call the Wood Street Project, that extends from 138th and Wood all the way to 175th. They're going to expand Wood Street.
I have to draw that.
So do I.
They let us.
So what happens is the widening of Wood Street. I really don't know what the reasoning behind wanting to widen it or do whatever it is. But it requires the participation of several municipalities. So Riverdale being one, Dixmoor, Small Park being one, Harvey, Markham, Hazelcrest are the municipalities that are primarily involved in the Wood Street project. From my understanding, from my communications with the Illinois Department of Transportation, all of the other communities are ready to go, except for the one, the city of Harvey. Now, I'm going to be honest with you here because what happens is at the end of the day, I'm just going to give you my perspective. That's it. Okay. This is what's required. In order for the city of Harvey to participate in the project, the city needs to come up with I think it's $233,000 or $243,000. Okay. Now, that is just for lighting. Okay. For our street lights, for making sure that we have the emergency lights. You see that little white light that's always above the stoplights around the hospitals and things like that, making sure that we have that service in place, making sure that we have all the necessaries in place as far as lighting is concerned. IDOT has agreed to basically finance the rest of the project, except for that lighting portion, which is approximately $243,000. And just for anybody that has questions later on, if you want to see, I have the letter from IDOT that they wrote to us, letting us know that this is the situation. So if anyone wants to read it for yourself, you can, because I'm trying to just give you a summary of what it said. So that was one. The second thing that I have issue with at this particular point in time is after the project is complete. First of all, if the project is ever started, but after the project is complete, the Illinois Department of Transportation wants the city of Harvey to take jurisdiction or ownership of Wood Street. So that means that now, henceforth and forevermore going forward, the city of Harvey would be responsible for the maintenance of Wood Street, for the plowing of Wood Street, for the lighting on Wood Street, for the curbs on Wood Street, for all underneath infrastructure on Wood Street. While maybe at another time, at another day, I would be for that. At this particular point in time, I'm personally not for that. Now, of course, they'll say, Clark is trying to stop progress. No, I'm looking at the fact that so we don't have the financial resources to take care of a massive street such as Wood Street. We just don't have the financial resources to do so.
Nor do you have the personnel to manage it.
Well, that was the next thing I was going to say. Bottom line is, the one truck that we do have, or they'll say, no, we have several trucks plowing snow. Yeah, the one truck that we got plowing snow throughout the city in the wintertime will probably have to dedicate its time entirely to to Wood Street.
So
We already don't have any salt.
Wood Street is a state street now.
Yes, yes. And let me rephrase that because somebody said, you said we don't have any salt, but we do have 1 can of Morton's in the cabinet, so we have some salt. Okay, we don't have enough salt. No, because I've
All on
learned
Wood Street.
to become, yes, and we be using that whole thing on Wood Street. But because if I'm not precise, they'll attack me because I wasn't being as precise, and so I have to do that. So what happens at the end of the day, the Wood Street project has stalled. But it's been stalled, as you are aware, for several years. So, yes, but is there a way that we can kick it back up? Yes, I believe that we can. It's like we were talking about those relationships, because having those conversations with the necessary parties is key. I've had some of those conversations. I have not had all of those conversations. But we can get it back and we can figure out, okay, well, is there a way for us to say, for instance, and I'm just going off the top of our head, off top of my head, is there a way for us to go about getting the work done without taking the ownership of the property now? Okay, but maybe at some point in time in the future to transfer the ownership over. Is there a way for us to do that? Is that conversation being had? And I just want to say also, because we have, is it just one? Yeah, we have another candidate for alderwoman here in the room, Colby Chapman. She's here. She's running. But in addition to introducing her and looking, I saw her and I thought to myself, one of the things that has to happen what will happen during my administration is that all of the aldermen and alderwomen will be participants in the process. Because once again, when we go back to the beginning, when we're talking about comprehensive plans and how they work, everyone has to know what the blueprint looks like. Everyone has to know that we're all going in the same direction. So what would happen is, in this particular case, when I'm having those conversations about Wood Street covers actually part 4th, part 5th, because that's the dividing line for those woods, and then part 3rd. So we would have to at least, at a minimum, make sure that those 3 alderpersons are involved in the process so they know exactly what's going on so they can communicate it with their constituents. So, but having those conversations are key. And I'm looking forward to having them even more with the state, specifically with our state rep and our state senator, to try to figure out, and the other parties involved, to figure out how we can get that done. So that's one of the things that's going on with that project. So,
Does that answer your question?
yeah, she said, thank you, yeah, I'm assuming that.
You should have a meeting here, we'll call it.
So, it goes to what you said, Ms. Wilson, goes to what you said, Ms. Randall, goes to what you said, Ms. Cameron. At the end of the day, we must use every relationship at our disposal to create and fund our solutions. Every relationship. So if it's working with the businesses and trying to figure out how we can come together to do some things, to make some things happen, which we can, because they do it in other communities. We've seen it before. Remember, like I said today and like I said last Saturday, we don't have to rebuild this thing. We already know that it's there because we've seen others do it. So we have to use those relationships at our disposal. Our relationships with companies and businesses, our relationships with our state and federal representatives, our relationships with our county representatives, all of those, our relationships with our township representatives, all of those relationships need to be used so that we can move ourselves forward. But not only, I'm going to say those big guys, okay, but our school representatives, we have to have those relationships. Our library representatives, we have to have those relationships. Of course, relationships with the community as well. not just the large corporation, but the mom and pop store, we have to have relationships, you know what I'm saying, with them as well. Because when we do, first of all, if anybody, well, I'm gonna embarrass you again, Mama, that's right. My mother knows that I don't know everything, even though I like to think that I do. And I raise my children by saying to them, your dad is smart and he knows everything. And if they didn't remember anything else, they remember that. But I do realize that I don't know everything. But I'm smart enough to know how powerful I am when I'm working with others. I know how powerful I am when I'm working with others. So,
And may I add, you may not know everything, but hopefully you know the one who does know everything.
that's what we're doing. And so what happens is at the end of the day, like last Saturday, and I think I put it on my Facebook post that I learned and the residents learned, we learned from each other. You know, I learned something last week. I'm learning something this week, and this is what we're supposed to do. This is what, in my opinion, is going to create the better Harvey that we know that we need and deserve. The only difference between today and, say, for instance, May of 2019, we will be having these meetings in council chambers in City Hall. But you'll be there, and you'll be a part of it. And it won't be with a boisterous city council meeting where you're not allowed to speak. It'll be in a situation just as, I'm going to say, cozy and comfortable maybe, as this one, where you are allowed to participate and be a part of your government. Because there's wisdom here. I don't know how many years we have in total sitting here in this room. Would you? Maybe. But the simple fact is, there's wisdom here. And every single time I get, and it happens because I'm human, every single time I get to the point where I think I may know it all, there's always somebody out there to let me know that I don't. And unfortunately for me, it's been people who have had my best interest in heart. And so they educate me, they inspire me, but I know that we can do that for each other. So we're going to work together in the future. We're going to get things done. We're going to make this happen. Up next, well, our next presentation, it depends on how inspired I get this week. It's supposed to go in the direction of the rest of our quality of life issues. I do want to, there's so much I want to talk about though, because we still have the remaining parts of the transportation-oriented development plan. That's the downtown redevelopment. We still have that. We have more of that to address. We have a what's called cargo-oriented development, or our industrial plan, which is really key because in addition to everything we talked about has a job component to it, but I believe that industrial plan is the jobs component. It really helps to create the jobs that we need and the stimulus that we need here in the city. So there's some of that. Actually, there's more to talk about than I actually have time. So I'm going to try to stick to the script and stay to the schedule and stay to the quality of life issues. Unless y'all just want me to talk about something else. I'll be quiet, Corinne. Corinne's like, no, don't talk about nothing else. We just want you to stay to the script. But that's our next thing. So, other than that, once again, I'm Chris Clark. I'm running for mayor in the city of Harvey. Election is February 26, 2019. We could use your help. We not only could we use your help, we need your help.